Yeah, so again, like I until college, one thing that my college coach actually did when we'd be practicing, when we would be in the Northeast, so it'd be rainy and snowy and stuff, we'd have indoor practices and we'd have stations for hitting. And one of the six stations would be a mental skill station.
Okay.
I never had anything, I never heard about that before, right? Like, and even that was in like 2009 and 2010. So it was still, it's crazy to think in 10 or 11 years how our perspective has changed on mental health
Hmm.
and the mental side aspect of everything, not just sports. I mean, in everything. Like you
Yeah.
said, just toughen it up. That's how I always used to think. Oh, I'm mentally tough. I don't let things bother me. I push through and put my head
Yeah.
down. That's I realized that as I got older and I started to deal with like trauma off the field, on and off the field, but that stuff started to the pushing it down and never really dealing with it and knowing how to cope with things started to blow up in my face, you know. So it started to leak onto the field and affect me.
Mm.
So it really started to affect me in 2019, right before I was with the Mets. My grandfather, who like taught me how to play baseball, he was at every single game. I like said goodbye to him to go to spring training, and like the day after I got to Florida, he had like a massive heart attack and died.
Oh,
So he had been having like heart issues, but it was like, oh, it's under control. That he
yeah.
was going to go in for a minor procedure, and he didn't make it to the end of the week. Like it was a Wednesday, and the Friday he was supposed to get surgery, and he just like so that again, like that really affected me. But again, how I used to think about it was like, okay, like he would want me to do well on the field, so I didn't ever really give myself a chance to like feel that. So I went right back to spring training and was like back to grinding and back to the life and all that kind of stuff. And then I was hurt playing through an injury with a new team, and I had a good spring training, and then I went to double A and I started to unravel. It just started to I mean, I always believed in the mental skills coaches.
Hmm.
It's so important now at every single I mean, I think every single team should have at least they almost have a whole mental skills department, never mind one guy. So like it's really important to work with those people and it's there's so much stuff that goes on and like off the field that we have to compartmentalize. And if we don't do a good job at that, it's going to start leaking into our performance. And it's
Yeah.
not even about that. It started to affect my performance and then it started to affect me when I was off the field anyway. So I started, you know, right after I got released by the Mets after all this was happening, it was like a shock. You know, it was crazy. It was like taken from me, and I had surgery on my sports hernia, and I was 28 in June, in July, released with surgery, and I didn't know what my future was going to be. You know, with and it started to really hit me. I started to have
Hmm.
like panic attacks and stuff, and
Wow.
and like as an athlete, especially at this level, like I'm so in tune with my body, and I started to have like physiological symptoms that I
Mm.
was like, there's got to be something wrong. Because it's like if
Mm.
I have tendonitis, I take ibuprofen and it gets better,
Right.
and I do rehab, right? And I was starting to feel things and like be in this phase and and like have the panic attacks, and it felt like a heart attack. I actually like walked to the emergency room two different times because I didn't know what was going on and I was terrified. So and my girlfriend, my fiance was at work, so I was terrified, you know. So and I started at that point, you know, going to work with a therapist, and I've been
Mm.
working with a therapist for 2 years, a little bit over 2 years now. The same guy. I mean, the good thing, like you mentioned, in today's world, especially in sports, like it's so not taboo anymore to talk about mental
Hmm.
health. Like the view used to be, oh, don't be weak, just power through. Now it's
Hmm.
a sign of strength if you talk about
Yeah.
how you have issues or everyone has things that they're dealing with mentally. Like someone like Dak Prescott is really open about what happened when his brother was killed and he was trying to be the quarterback for the Cowboys and it really affected him. You know, someone else like Hayden Hurst, he's the tight end for the I think for the Falcons and he was really open about that and actually one person that really helped me when I was going through it, listening to like Michael Phelps. I mean,
Oh,
Michael
yeah.
Phelps was at the peak of everyone, of everything. Couldn't have he won every gold medal that you could possibly do. possibly competing in the Olympics, every record. And I listened to some podcasts about him and how he was actually contemplating suicide, like
Wow.
after all that. So when you really think that people are, happy and at the top, you never know what they're going through. Like
Yep.
he was dealing with a lot of stuff behind closed doors and never let it, he didn't want anybody to know because he was a gold medalist and that was it, an
Hmm.
Olympian. So I think that knowing that everyone's going through something, there's some solace in community. So you're going through it with other people. You're not alone, and that's really
Hmm.
helpful. To specifically to minor league players, like that's get help or talk to the mental skills people. That's why they're there. I mean, even when it comes to just as something as seemingly meaningless, but it's not. It's your performance. That's your
Yep.
job. So I mean, we train our bodies, we work out and lift, right? We train our skills. We hit or a pitcher's throw in the off season. That's such a huge from the neck up is such an important part of anything, everything in the world, any sport, but especially baseball. Like it's so mental. 90% is mental. They say Yogi Berra said that funny quote. And it's
Hmm.
true. Like once you get to the double A level, if you can compete in double A, you have like the physical ability, they say, to
Hmm.
make it. It's
Yeah.
from how quick you can make adjustments and how you can deal with adversity and overcome adversity at that point. So yeah, I mean, work on your mental skills too, and learn coping mechanisms. And when I started going to therapy, um, it was huge. I started to learn new techniques. Like I would compare it to, oh, what's one way to get my core stronger? I start doing this exercise. So I
Okay.
started to tell my therapist, like, I'm an athlete. I take instruction from like a teacher or a coach. So for you, I'm going to view you as like my mental coach. And I want you to give me almost like, I mean, not literally, but almost like a mental workout. Like, give me tests and give me exercises. And I started to do them as like another workout that I would have.
Hmm.
And I would view it that way. And it's really helpful. I mean, all the coping mechanisms and just talking about it with someone, just
Yeah.
just getting out what you're thinking and all the feelings that you're bottling up for all this time, it's really helpful. And I actually I've been journaling every night. Like I journal every night for the last year and a half. So all these different things, and it's mitigated my symptoms. And it's almost, I mean, I still feel it. I mean, I think
Hmm.
every day is like with mental health, it's always going to be a daily battle. It's never like, oh, like I said, the tendonitis. I take enough ibuprofen and it goes away. Like it's never
Hmm.
quite like I have good weeks and some bad weeks sometimes, and but again, like I'm open about it now because it's so helpful to
Yeah.
talk about it and it's so not
Absolutely.
taboo now. And I know so many guys once I started to open up, even roommates on the road, and they're like, you know what, I feel stuff like that too.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful to talk about people that you trust,
Yep.
talk about it with people that you trust, and just be open about it. So that's a
Yeah.
long-winded answer for minor league guys, like
No, it's
younger
okay.
guys.
It's
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah, because it really affected me. Again, when I look back in hindsight, I would always say when I was younger and going through things, oh, I think I'm in a funk. Like I didn't know how to
Hmm.
identify it. Now I know that was like times of higher anxiety or stress, or I can identify it now. I should just say, oh, it'll wear off. And I didn't know how to, you know, really deal with it. So
Hmm.
now, definitely in my wiser veteran age,
Yeah.
it's really helpful. And I don't mean to sound preachy, but if you need to talk to someone, I mean, therapy really helped me a lot. And I
Hmm.
go to it weekly. Like, even there's always going to be something that comes up in life. Like, not only this struggle that I'm going with deciding if I'm going to keep playing or not, but there's other things in my personal life that are going on that I'm always kind of just trying to deal with and make the best of. And I think everybody has that in their lives.